Hi, my name is Jack. Today we're going to watch another horrific case of Abby Choi. 28-year-old Abby Choi, mother of 4 children, Hong Kong model, socialite and influential person in Hong Kong, was reported missing on February 21, 2023. 3 days later, her decapitated body was found in the suburbs of Hong Kong in Tai Po village. According to the police, some parts of her body were found in the refrigerator, some were cooked, but some police have not been able to find to this day. So far, 7 people have been arrested on suspicion of the girl's murder, including her ex-husband, son-in-law, and parents, as well as 2 friends of the ex-husband. At the moment, the court proceedings are ongoing. Today's story is going to be a very heavy one. To delve into it, we're going to travel to Hong Kong. One of the residents of this neighborhood was Abby Choi, a young 28-year-old girl who worked as a model. Often children from high-income families grow up to be not very nice people, because the luxuries are always pretty hard on the character. Abby, however, was a pleasant exception to this statistic, kind, helpful, quiet, and non-confrontational. Abby treated everyone with the same respect. She sponsored centers to help homeless animals. She made regular charitable donations to various social organizations. Although Abby was what you might call a socialite, she was not known for her scandalous lifestyle. On the contrary, at 28, Abby was a mother of 4 children, promoted a healthy lifestyle and family values. As I said earlier, Abby's main activity was modeling. It was her dream since childhood. Abby grew up in a good family with understanding parents. She was the oldest of 3 daughters. The family never had financial problems, rather the opposite, and the family had a successful business that operated all over China. According to some sources, the family's fortune exceeded 100 million Hong Kong dollars, which is almost 13 million American dollars today. Abby also had quite a popular Instagram profile. More than 100,000 people followed the girl there. This also brought her quite a good income. Abby was a style icon. She loved to dress in designer clothes. Her clothes were mostly from famous brands. Mostly her looks were nighttime and feminine, though even at night girls would experiment with quite extravagant outfits. For this she was called the Hong Kong style icon. She was always a welcome guest of fashion shows and Fashion Week in Paris. Her income was measured in tens of thousands of dollars a month. Abby Choi was a petite girl even by Asian standards. In order to keep herself in shape, the girl followed a diet and trained in the gym. It often happens that a person focuses on career, therefore there is not enough time for personal life. And it was not about Abby. The girl was dating a guy named Alex Kwok. Yeah, they were just kids when they met, but they had a lot in common. They got married when they were 18 years old, and later became the parents of 2 children, a boy and a girl. Alex and Abby's parents also supported the joint family and helped the young people to raise the children. Although the husband's family was not as wealthy as Abby's family, it did not affect their relationship. The girl tried to support them in every way possible. She even hired her husband Alex's brother. His name was Anthony Kwanich. Kong Chi, the spouse of Alex Kwong's girlfriend, shared a history with her dating back to their high school days. They formed a relationship despite Kong not being from a privileged background and having an average income. While such cross-class marriages were rare in China, Alex's family did not impose strict conditions on her choice. They encouraged her to take her time and make decisions carefully. Despite some reservations, Alex and Kong entered into marriage, which lasted 4 years and produced 2 children. The divorce initiated by Alex ended amicably, with no publicly known reasons for the split. Despite their separation, Alex maintained a positive relationship not only with Kong but also with his family. During a difficult financial period for Alex's family, Alex purchased a high-end condo worth approximately $10 million for them, a gesture that sparked speculation about her motives. Some speculated it was a strategic investment to reduce property taxes, given Alex's ownership of multiple properties. By transferring the ownership to Kong's father, Alex could minimize tax obligations, leaving open the option to reclaim ownership in the future. This move allowed her to avoid a significant tax bill and potentially profit from the property in the future. In 2015, Alex Wong was convicted of fraud. The sick man used a dating app, which is very popular among gay men in Hong Kong, and fraudulently swindled 4 of them out of gold totaling HK 5 million. Despite the fact that he was issued a warrant, which means that Alex Kwong has been in Roshuk ever since, he was never arrested. That is, there was a trial, charges were filed, and no punishment was meted out. In fact, Alex Kwong suffered no damages for what he did. She remarried. Abby's second husband, Creston, also went to school with her, in high school with her. In fact, all 3 of them and the girl's first husband, her second brother-in-law, were classmates and friends. His family there owned a chain of restaurants and their fortune was estimated at $500 million. It must be said that despite the beautiful wedding ceremony, Abby and Crest were not officially on record were not married. Perhaps this decision was made in order to keep their financial affairs financial matters, not to make the capital of each of the spouses in general, especially since rumor had it that in the last couple of years, Abby had greatly improved her own wealth by investing money wisely. Whatever the reality, Cross and Abby considered themselves as husband and wife. Appearing everywhere together, they had 2 more children. Abby, I must say, tried very hard to create a large, close-knit family. She didn't just get along with her estranged husband and his family, but she invited them over for family gatherings, like Christmas and birthdays. Chris, in turn, treated Abby's children from his first marriage as he did his own, and was always happy to see their father, Alex, as well. How many families do you know where, after a divorce, maintain such a good relationship after a divorce? In fact, when Abby's first husband's older brother, Anthony Kwana, the older brother of Abby's first husband, and he couldn't find a job for a long time. The girl offered him a job as her chauffeur, and she paid a lot of money for it. Anthony was someone that Abby would see on a daily basis. He drove her to all their meetings, social events, and he always dropped Abby off when she picked up her children's school. And she tried to spend as much time with them as possible, despite her busy schedule. The girl always prioritized family and children. Antonik posted photos of Abby on his Instagram, captioning them, brother and sister. It's not hard to conclude that the positive relationships Abby tried to maintain with everyone, always helping her family. And here you'd think there'd be something wrong with that, because she had a great relationship with everyone. Family, especially her ex-husband's family, to whom Abby owes nothing. Don't owe Abby anything at all. Should appreciate her support and help, right? No. The ex-husband's family felt that Abby wasn't giving them enough, and when the girl asked them to find her own place, because the condo they were living in was going up for sale, there was a real conflict between them. Kolkun, his wife and sons, had grown accustomed to the lavish lifestyle that Abby's money with Abby's money. They felt there was no need for her to sell this living space. Well, you get used to a good thing because, among other things, Abby made regular transfers to, her ex-husband's family. Money to support them. You have to admit that even if one particular has a very high net worth, they still don't have an obligation to just support someone. But still, Abby, for 10 years, she's been supporting the Van family. And now that she's suddenly decided to stop doing that, they're really pissed off. The families, by the way, are quite exemplary. Kolkun is a former Gangkong police officer who lost his job for a reason. He was fired, or rather you were, but he resigned because of the moral turpitude he committed in taking advantage of his official position. The thing is, when Kolkun was still a cop, there was a young woman who was a victim of violence. Kolkun was very nice to her. He helped her fill out the paperwork. He was supportive and comforted her. So that same night, when the same caring, sympathetic man, the same caring, sympathetic law enforcement officer of law enforcement, she opened the door for him, in case there were any additional questions, or maybe her abuser had already been caught. But the dastardly Kolkun was only pretending to be involved to gain the poor girl's trust, because he took advantage of her vulnerable position and abused her. He got off with a simple dismissal, not even a scandal. The police department hushed it up by somehow with the victim and settled quietly. Over the years, this man had grown accustomed to feeling respect for himself, thought he had some kind of status. That's why it was very difficult for him to get a simple job. That pay is not so, that respect for him personally lacking. In short, it was convenient that the youngest son married a rich woman who he was able to live off of. They were so accustomed to a luxurious lifestyle they could never have achieved on their own, that now they risked of losing everything. Started to Sudarugno come up with a way to get out of it. So the whole Kwan family got together to decide how to deal with Abby's scoundrel. And they came up with a plan. Since the girl's current husband, Chris, wasn't married to her, which meant that when Abby died, all of her assets would be divided amongst her children. The father of 2 of those children was Alex Kwan. So it would be up to him to handle the accounts of his underage, was his responsibility. They decided to kill Abby. Alex's father, whose name was Kao Kwan, used to work in the police. He figured out the best way to pull off this scam. Their plan was to trap the girl first, then dispose of the body. 2 weeks before Abby Choi disappeared, they rented a house in the suburbs. A house in the suburbs. You'd think that the Kwong family had decided to live on their own and just looked for a new house in the suburbs. They're going to move out of the house that Abby wanted to sell. Except that the Kwongs hadn't even brought in any furniture. As it turned out later, the Kao Kwan, who showed up there periodically, didn't even say hello to the friendly neighbors. He spent all his time in the house, covering the walls of the window with black oilcloth. On February 21, 2003, Abby Choi went to pick up her daughter from school. After a while, her cell phone was unavailable, and the girl was never seen again. Chris, Abby's second husband, immediately sounded the alarm. Disappearing like that without warning was not typical of Abby, especially when there was a baby waiting for her. Chris called all his family and friends, alerted the local police department, called the nearest hospitals and morgues. Both he and Abby's parents wanted to get a cop on the job to take over their duties immediately. Abby was reported missing the very next morning. All local TV stations broadcast a press conference of the police. They showed pictures of the missing person. They showed what she was wearing, what kind of bag she was holding. The police have been asked to come forward with any information about the case, and then immediately began their investigative work. I'm sure you're aware that the first place you check family and close circle of friends. So when the police showed up at the doorstep of the Konda home, where the Kwong family was still living, it was business as usual, except law enforcement didn't realize how much of an address they'd come to. Kao Kwan, father of Abby's first husband. Very unhappy that Chris and the missing man's parents attracted the cops so quickly. He was sure he'd have more time to pull off this perfect crime. He'd have more time. Who knows, maybe if he had at least one more plan. Kwong was very evasive in answering the police's questions. So when they learned that the Kwongs had rented a house in the suburbs, law enforcement officials rushed there. On February 24th, the police entered the house rented by Abby Choi's relatives in the suburbs of Gangkong. There was no furniture. The windows and even the doorway were covered with black material. Inside, police found 2 meat grinders, an electric saw, a hammer, face shields, black raincoats, a Hermes bag belonging to Abby, the same one she was carrying the day she disappeared. The trunk still held her credit cards and passport. There were 2 huge pots on the stove with some kind of broth in them. On closer inspection, the police ponies realized it was a concoction that needed to be sent to forensics. Already looking very suspicious were the pieces of meat that were floating along with some carrots and potatoes. Later, forensics would find Abby's head in one of these pots. The identity will be established by the teeth, the boiled-out skull. In the refrigerator, police found Abby's severed legs, the lower half of her torso. The upper half of the girl's body and arms were never recovered. Investigators shredded the surveillance footage from outside showing Kao Kwan, the girl's former father-in-law, of the girl dumping a trash can with a black plastic bags. A whole squad of police experts examined the mountains of garbage at the local dump, but the search turned up nothing. The day she disappeared, Abby was on her way to pick up her daughter's school. She was in the company of her driver, Anthony, her ex-husband's older brother. Midway through the drive, the car turned onto an unfamiliar road, drove through a tunnel at the end of which it was becoming, and into the car burst out Alex and his father. It's unknown exactly how they took Abby's life. There were injuries on the skull that were found in the pot, which may well have been the cause of death. What we don't know is whether the girl was alive when she sustained this injury or that injury. Anthony, to his father's bathroom, was arrested immediately. Alex, the ex-husband, tried to go on the run. However, friends of the deceased, the murdered, bloggers and influencers, have put up a reward of several million of Hong Kong dollars for any information on his whereabouts. On February 25th, he was apprehended at Tung Chung Pier. Alex planned to escape in a red boat, cross the border carrying $500,000 Hong Kong dollars and a suitcase with an expensive watch, a total value worth $4 million. The second husband, Abby Choi, has turned his full attention on the children, all four now in his care. His mother, their grandmother, has taken the children away from the hype. They don't get the news, but sooner or later the kids are going to have to find out what happened to their mom. And it's going to be a real blow. The court case against the perpetrators is still in process. Now that Abby's not alive and she can't claim the rights to the house that the Kwan family used to live in. Even if they're on trial, they could technically sell that property to pay for a good lawyer. I hope they don't. All you and I have to do is follow this story, watch the news and wait. How will it end up for these bastards? As always, I look forward to your comments. Let's discuss it together. Subscribe to the channel and we'll see you in the next videos. Bye.